an industrial estate in Harlow, Essex, 30 miles north of London. Hardly the place that you'd expect to find Roman remains, isn't it? But, believe it or not, directly beneath where I'm standing are the remains of a Romano-Celtic temple that was built sometime around about 80 AD. The temple was discovered in 1764 and it was excavated in the 1920s and then again in the 1930s. We can't actually see the temple today because after it was excavated and studied, it was reburied again to protect it from the brutal English weather. But what we can see today is a reconstruction. Directly above where it is, we can see the concrete outline of the main wall, and we can see a reconstruction of the cellar just there behind me. The cellar was the main part of the temple where the cult statue was kept. It's been reconstructed directly above where the real one is. And this site in Harlow is a good example of the kind of Roman remains that you can see all over Europe, all over the Middle East, and all over North Africa. Because when the Roman Empire fell, the Romans left a lot of stuff behind. They left behind their cities, their artworks, and even their everyday life. Bits and pieces, their knives, forks, plates, cooking pots, weights and measures, all sorts of things. What I'd like to do in this series is to visit as many of these ancient sites and the museums containing the artworks that I can. I don't know where I'm going to go, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I'd like to invite you to come along with me on my journey, province by province, through the Roman Empire. Rome. The capital of the Republic of Italy. And the centre of the Catholic Church. A modern European city of 3 million people. But even though Rome is a modern city, and it features buildings from every epoch of Christian history, for anyone who comes to this incredible, stunning city, there's no escaping the fact that 2,000 years ago, Rome was the most magnificent city the world has ever known. It was a time when Rome was the centre of an empire that covered the entire known world. It may sound obvious, but the easiest way of seeing and experiencing the grandeur of the Roman Empire is to visit Rome. In fact, so much of the ancient city remains that one can end up thinking of Rome as nothing more than an archaeological theme park. Bussed around the Eternal City on their package holidays, taken by the hand and shown the sights, modern-day tourists have just enough time to take some photos of broken columns and the odd headless statue, and maybe buy a little trinket from a street stall to remember it all by. They may even be rushed through a museum or two if they're on a luxury tour. But if you do that, you'll miss the whole point of even coming to Rome. Certainly the ruins here are more impressive than probably any other place in Europe, and no other city in Europe contains the sheer quantity of ruins that Rome has, not even Athens. What makes Rome unique is the way the ruins still give us an idea and a feeling of the ancient city's greatness. They're not just broken columns standing there for everyone to take photos of. The ruins of today were magnificent temples 2,000 years ago, built to glorify the empire and the emperor, or to satisfy a promise made to the gods. They were the buildings used for entertainment. People lived in them. They held their remains after they died. We can see the story of Rome by stopping and looking carefully at the monuments that are all over the city. And that's what I'm going to be doing in this first episode of my journey through the Roman Empire. I'll be looking at the story of the city of Rome, told through the buildings and the artworks that were left behind after the fall of the empire. By looking at the tiny details of the ruins, not just looking at the entire building as a whole, I think you're going to be surprised at how much history you can see just by looking very closely. Our story begins up on the summit of one of Rome's two central hills, the Palatine.